In this lecture, you're going to learn about EU AI Act, or if you're running this workshop, you're going to teach about EU AI Act. When I come to this lecture, I have a small planted joke that you can also use for your workshops. When I come to this particular disclaimer slide, I say like, by the way, guys, I'm not a liar. And I take a pause and I say, sorry, lawyer. And then people laugh. They think that I made a mistake by pronouncing liar or lawyer. That you can also adopt if you wish. Do a disclaimer that you're not a lawyer and you're not giving this as not an actual advice. You have to get legal consultation in order to know whether or not your AI application is compliant with EU AI Act or not. But then you can go on and explain what's the EU AI Act. So EU AI Act is there for a good reason, like the same reason that these traffic lights are there for us. The traffic lights are there in order to prevent accidents. And so is the case with this act. It's a European-wide act. It's one of the biggest of its kind that have ever happened. And it's there in order for preventing harm happening to human beings with this powerful technology called AI. And it protects one of those 50 European values that we have based on this framework called my EU 50 European values, which is across these 6 different European values that we have: human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, rule of law, and human rights. If any of those AI applications that you're building is gonna, in any way or format, gonna harm one of these values, then you're not allowed to run that in European Union, in any of the countries of European Union. And how do you find this document? You basically go to Google and you search for EU AI Act PDF. And please pay attention that this is the legal document that you can find it from this particular website. So very detailed document, is legal terms, so probably you need some ChatGPT in order to understand this document. But what it basically says is that any application that you build, it's gonna end up being classified in one of these 4 classes. It can start from like literally a minimal risk. So your application can be classified as a minimal risk, or it can be classified in this category where it's called limited risk, or the risk of this to the greater public is limited. It's also known as transparency risk. Or also in this category, which is high risk, we'll see some examples in a minute, or in this category, which is kind of unacceptable. It won't work in European Union because it will threaten one of those 50 European values. So with that, let's go to each of these little frameworks one by one. The very first one is minimal risk, or unregulated or no restrictions zone. If you're building an AI agent that is going to do something with email filters, or building an FAQ, a frequently asked question chatbot, or a bookkeeping, these are literally minimal risk. That means it doesn't have greater potential of harming people. Therefore, you will go from you won't spend too much money into legal fees in order to make this compliant. The other one is called limited risk, the second category, or else the deep fake generators. You're building an algorithm that's building like these images and videos. That needs to go through certain regulatory approvals, and that will incur some legal cost for you. An AI recommendation system for product or content recommendations. This can be classified as limited risk. An AI-powered resume screener that can be used in HR pipelines, evaluation pipelines. That can be classified as limited risk. iRisk that has strict compliance and audit requirements from different authorities of your country. You'll need to go through evaluations, and all the legal costs attached to it will increase your startup or your project in your enterprise. So you need to factor that in. For example, AI in healthcare or diagnosis, or all those AI models for detecting diseases. I make this metaphorical example of if you're making an AI model that handles a robotic arm to do a heart surgery, perhaps it needs to go through a lot of legal requirements, and that's absolutely fine because you don't want it to hallucinate at the moment of doing a heart surgery. And the AI for credit scoring, if you have a mortgage application that needs to be evaluated, it is one of those iRisk categories, and it has to go through a lot of compliance in order to make sure that there is no bias happening towards people applying for loans. And so is the case with recruitment. What is not acceptable or is banned for ethical and safety reasons is in this prohibited category, where you basically do a social scoring, an AI that ranks individuals based on their behaviors, kind of facial recognition, fingerprint recognition, or however you can identify a person and keep scoring things about them is prohibited. A real-time biometric surveillance, as I just mentioned, a facial recognition through the CCTV cameras on the street, identifying people in public places, and so on. Another very interesting thing that could be used for AI but is prohibited is predictive policing. Another metaphorical example that I give is if you profile people in an ideal scenario, at some point in time, this might be normal, but right now it's prohibited and banned. If you can profile people and then you find out that this guy always drives the car on a Tuesday morning fast because he's bad at his scheduling, he always leaves his home too late, and throughout the last year, he had, 10 red light tickets, and he drives fast on a Tuesday morning because of whatever reason, and there's a very high chances of this next Tuesday he's gonna get another red light ticket. He's gonna drive through a red light, and then before he leaves the home, he can get a ticket for that. It is a predictive policing, but it's prohibited in that sense. There's a very famous Tom Cruise movie about predictive policing where he goes and kills himself because Minority Report, 2002. This is also a very interesting movie to watch because in this one they are kind of like doing predictive policing to the science fiction level. Maybe you want to watch this movie called Minority Report. With that, then you basically finish the lecture on EU AI Act, and then you go and do a little game I built, which you can also use to do it in your workshop. The way it works is like this. There's a box that basically says something around one example, and then there will be like these four options, and then they, by show of hands, they will guess which option it is. So AI tools that schedule meetings, for example, a Calendly AI. And then you say like, by show of hands, who thinks it's prohibited? And then you see and then speak it out loud to the room that 10% of people thinks it's prohibited. And then high risk, and then other people raise their hand, high risk. and then you select 30% of the room, and then so on and so forth. And then you see this, and then it's minimal risk, and then you go with that minimal risk. You give this example of the minimal risk, and then you say, yes, it's minimal risk, and then you kind of reveal the answer to that. And then the next question goes like this, and then you basically keep going on and on and on. So these slides will be really interesting for your audience engagement. There are a few facts about EU AI Act that you can share. It's very serious. The penalties could be really high. Like the fines can go to between 7.5 million euros to 35 million euros, or 1 to 7% of the annual revenue of the company if they're not compliant to the EU AI Act. And the AI office to the EU level is based in Luxembourg. That's kind of like doing all the rulings and so on. But the national regulatory bodies or enforcement bodies that will put this law in motion. And what businesses can do, they can do AI risk assessment, the AI governance frameworks, the compliance training. This is something very important, has been in motion since February 2025. And the technical and legal readiness, they can prepare AI systems for regulatory obligations, and they can regularly monitor new updates happening and with their tech stack and everything that they do with AI and organizations. That's very, very important to stay compliant. A few dates that you can share with your audience about EU AI Act from this slideshow. I'm not going to just read it just for the sake of reading it. One thing that's very important is the general purpose AI became in effect since August of 2025. So we are right now on 11th of September, and literally a couple of weeks ago this came into motion and into effect. That means big companies like Aleph Alpha, Mistral AI, and these ones that have this general purpose usage, they have to go through certain regularities, and they must have already gone through it, and then they must have become compliant. Therefore, they do still exist in the market. And any other company doing those kind of things, they have to go through these regularities. And these categorizes these people as providers, deployers, importers, and distributors, those 4 categories. And those are some of the examples that providers could be: Aleph Alpha of Germany, Mistral AI of France, DeepL of Germany, a translation company based out of Cologne. And the deployers could be BNP Paribas of France, Siemens, very famous company in Germany. I also worked for Siemens before, Zalando, and so on. And importers could be those who bring AI systems into EU from outside. For example, we're bringing any technology from US companies, or a German hospital using AI-powered diagnostic tools developed in Israel that needs to be kind of like compliant to EU AI Act. And distributors could be like any other software provider, like, for example, SAP, selling these AI-powered enterprise solutions to all over Germany or EU or worldwide. They have to go through certain regulatory frameworks dealt as a distributor in this framework. So with that, you can then close your workshop by saying like, okay, now we're going for a coffee break for 15 minutes. And once you're back, then you're kind of like at this level of your progress on your workshop. And you go and start the hands-on session, which is going to be split across 1 hour, 45 minutes slots each, and a 1 hour lunch break in between. So with this, let's start our hands-on lectures, which will be bite-sized and small video clips for you guys to follow and learn how to become a pro in giving this open source workshop format. See ya.